In this session, we will be dealing with Module 5 of Industrial Robotics. We will be mainly dealing with robo programming. A robot today can do much more than merely move its arm through a series of points in space. Robots can accept input from sensors and other devices. They can send signals to pieces of equipment operating with them in the cell. They can make decisions. They can communicate with computers to receive instructions and to report production data and problems. All of these capabilities require programming. Now, we will deal with methods of robo programming. The programming methods may be divided into two basic types. 1. Lead-through methods. 2. Textual robo languages. The lead-through methods require the programmer to move the manipulator through the desired motion path and that the path be committed to memory by the robo controller. The lead-through methods are sometimes referred to as teach by showing methods. They had their beginnings in the early 1960s when robots were first being used for industrial applications. Robo programming with textual languages is accomplished somewhat like computer programming. The programmer types in the program on a monitor using a high-level English-like language. The procedure is usually augmented by using lead-through techniques to teach the robot the locations of points in the workspace. The textual languages started to be developed in the 1970s. Another method of programming is used for simple, low-technology robots. These limited sequence robots are controlled by means of mechanical stops and limit switches to define the endpoints of their joint motions. The setting of these stops and switches might be called a programming method. We may think of this kind of programming as a manual setup procedure. Lead-through programming methods. In lead-through programming, the robo is moved through the desired motion path in order to record the path into the controller memory. There are two ways of accomplishing lead-through programming. 1. powered lead through to manual lead through. Powered lead through method. The powered lead through method makes use of a teach pendant to control the various joint motors and to power drive the robo arm and wrist through a series of points in space. Each point is recorded into memory for subsequent playback during the work cycle. The teach pendant is usually a small handheld control box with combinations of toggle switches, dials and buttons to regulate the robo's physical movements and programming capabilities. Among the various robo programming methods, the powered lead through method is probably the most common today. It is largely limited to point-to-point motions rather than continuous movement because of the difficulty in using the teach pendant to regulate complex geometric motions in space. A large number of industrial robo applications consists of point-to-point movements of the manipulator. These include part transfer tasks, machine loading and unloading, and spot welding. Manual lead through method. Manual lead through method, also sometimes called the walkthrough method, is more readily used for continuous path programming where the motion cycle involves smooth, complex, curvilinear movements of the robo arm. Common examples of this kind of robo application are spray painting and continuous arc welding. In the manual lead through method, the programmer physically grasps the robo arm and end effector and manually moves it through the desired motion cycle. If the robo is large and awkward to physically move, a special programming apparatus is often substituted for the actual robo. This apparatus has basically the same geometry as the robo, but it is easier to manipulate during programming. A teach button is often located near the wrist of the robo or the special programming apparatus, which is depressed during those movements of the manipulator that will become part of the programmed cycle. This allows the programmer the ability to make extraneous moves of the arm without their being included in the final program. The motion cycle is divided into hundreds or even thousands of individual closely spaced points along the path, and these points are recorded into the controller memory. The control systems for both lead-through procedures operate in either of two modes, teach mode or run mode. The teach mode is used to program the robot, and the run mode is used to execute the program. The two lead-through methods are relatively simple procedures to teach robots to perform simple, repetitive operations in factory environments. The skill requirements of the programmers are relatively modest, and these procedures can be readily applied in the plant. The reference book used for this lecture is titled Industrial Robotics, Technology, Programming and Applications, authored by Mikkel P. Gruer, Michel Weiss, Roger Nagel, Nicholas Audrey and Ashish Datta. This is the second edition of this book, published by McGraw-Hill Publishers. Thank you.